Good afternoon, everyone. I appreciate you joining me. I know it's right about lunchtime right now. As I was introduced, my name is Niamh Norton. I'm a product marketing manager with AdRoll. And this morning I'm going to talk to you about intent data and reaching your customers everywhere. For anyone who's not familiar with AdRoll, this is who we are. We are the global leader in retargeting. We've over 15,000 customers in over 100 countries. Our offices are across the globe, in San Francisco, New York. We followed the sun to Sydney. And we have our offices in Dublin. We're celebrating our 1-year anniversary there. And we're really excited to be launching in London as well this year. So hopefully we'll get to know you all better. But what I want to talk to you guys about today is three distinct things. So first of all, I want to set the tone and establish the context for our modern reality today with digital marketing in the multi-screen reality and the modern consumer that we're all tackling with at the moment. Then I want to move on to intent data. So how you can leverage it, how you access it, and how you can automate it to make your lives a lot easier. And then finally, bringing those two together in strategy and tactics for the multi-screen world. So I'm sure everybody's familiar with this face. This is Don Draper. For anyone who's not familiar, maybe one of the most famous ad men of all time from the US TV show Mad Men. And I think Don Draper represents a time when marketing was very different from how it is today. It was all about traditional branding and emotional responses to drive purchase behavior. I think if Don Draper had to live in the world that we live in, which is all about data, he'd be more likely to have a slide rule and an abacus in his hand than an old-fashioned whiskey and a cigarette. Because data is at the core of everything we do today as marketers. Whether it's an online display banner campaign, whether it's social media, whether it's search, we're always tracking the metrics of attribution, of return on investment. And I think there's a lot of sympathy out there for online marketers today because just as we'd solved the problem for how we attribute and how we reach users across different channels online, a whole new problem emerged. How we reach and target users across different channels and now across multiple devices as well. And Dave here represents pretty much the atypical modern 21st century consumer. Dave here decides he wants to buy a digital camera. Maybe he sees an article at work. God forbid, he does a bit of research when he's on his desk, at his desk laptop. He goes home that evening then, he does a bit of research on his tablet, looks into the different technical specs, the different models that he wants to buy, and then he does a bit of price comparison shopping the next day on his mobile. And then potentially he goes back to his desktop to make the purchase. And that's probably leaving that marketer kind of scratching their head about, well, what drove this purchase journey? Where did this decision come from? And that can be really difficult to attribute when Dave is jumping from different one device to another. And I think we're definitely seeing marketers step up to the plate when it comes to dealing with mobile and tablet and cross-device purchase journeys. This report is from the IAB. It's for the first half of this year, and it's looking at the year-on-year growth for different ad formats online. And as you can see, mobile is growing the fastest. Mobile video is growing at 196%, tablet at 160%. We're seeing mobile display overall is growing at 116% year on year. And we see now that in the UK, mobile accounts for 20% of all digital online spend. And with growth rates like this, we can just expect that to grow and grow. So we really are getting on top of how we deal with that modern consumer who's all about multi-screen and multi-device. But you'll still see there's growth there on our traditional online ad formats like display, search, and so on. So we have to juggle this new reality with what we've been doing already. And I think that's where the challenge lies. So now that I've set the scene in terms of the context of where we are right now, I want to talk about what's in your control, what you can control, what you have available to you. And that is essentially your intent data. So I want to explain what I mean by that and how you can go about automating it to make your life easier. So again, this is an image we're all very familiar with. This is the Google search engine, also known as Google's license to print money. Just a bit of a disclaimer, I worked in Google for 5 years before I joined AdRoll, so I understand just how powerful this box is and why it's so successful. And the simple reason is intent. Because when a user types something into the Google search engine, they're not just researching a product, they're not just searching for different websites, they're indicating their intent. And when they do that, the most obvious thing for marketers to do is to show them an ad. And Google calls that the zero moment of truth because it's responding in real time to someone's intent or interest in a product. We all know that search is tried and true when it comes to driving performance and return on investment. But for any of you who are doing search, you also probably know that it doesn't scale beyond a certain point. It also doesn't capture all the interest and all the demand for a particular website because users are coming to websites from channels other than search, and we know that. And we also know that not every brand and every website does a perfect job of converting users on their first visit to a website. And I think that does kind of, it's a challenge for marketers. And that's why at AdRoll, we advocate that there's a specific form of data available at your fingertips that you can use to drive that kind of performance. And that's your first party data. Now, what do I mean by that? Your first-party data is essentially the breadcrumb trail that advertisers leave on your website when they visit. And it's all the things you can see here on this slide. So it's things like the products users visited on the site and the products they didn't visit. The time they spent on the site, the time since they visited the site, did they engage with social media, did they purchase anything, and what was it? And all of that indicates their intent, where they are in the purchase journey, and how likely they are to purchase in the future. And this is where real-time bidding or programmatic or automation comes into play, because it allows you to collect, analyze, and most importantly, act on your data. And I say most importantly because a lot of brand marketers out there are collecting data about their websites through Google Analytics or some sort of analytics tool, but critically, they're failing to act on it. And that's essentially what retargeting allows you to do. It allows you to take your first-party data and engage with the users who have visited your site and not converted and bring them back to the site and drive them through the purchase journey. And we think that's a really big opportunity because if you're failing to capitalize on the first-party data, which is data you already have available to you, you're missing a big opportunity. And we know that on average, about 98% of visitors leave websites without converting the first time. Now, it may be different for your brands. You might find that it's higher, you might find that it's lower, but on average, that is a massive amount of users that don't make a purchase decision on their first visit to a website. It's really important that we re-engage those users because the online world really, it kind of fosters people researching, the price comparison shopping, and shopping around. So we need to be aware that that's the behavior online and cater to it. And if you do that, you're essentially building out a full funnel approach with your marketing. A lot of digital marketers will be doing a lot of prospecting or demand generation. So you'll be doing search, you might be doing video branding or whatever it is. And that is all about bringing new users to your website, bringing as much traffic as you can onto the site. But if you're failing to retarget them, you're essentially missing the bottom part of that funnel. So you're bringing them through to awareness, so they're visiting their site, through to consideration, and then nothing. Whereas if you retarget, you bring them right through from consideration, through to purchase intent, and through to conversion. And you're really building out a full funnel approach to your marketing. But of course, if it was that simple, we'd all be doing it already, right? And the biggest problem that advertisers bring to us when we talk to them about this is understanding different levels of intent on their website. How can I understand which users I should be targeting? I don't want to target all of them. And really, that's the exact same problem or issue that we've been facing with search for a long time, and it's pretty straightforward. We all know that there are millions of search terms entered into Google in the UK every single day. And it doesn't make sense for any marketer to bid on all of those keywords. You don't want to bid on all of those keywords. You want to select the ones that are specifically relevant to you and indicate an intent that is appropriate for your products and just bid on those. And it's exactly the same when it comes to segmenting out your user base on your website. And this is a really simple and basic approach or model for how you would segment out users on your website. And this is kind of a standard one that works for a lot of different types of websites. But obviously we tailor it based on the structure of each individual website. So if you start with your general user audience, so you take everyone who's visited the site, so the homepage right through to the thank you page or conversion page, and we'll break them out into two different groups. So first of all, you've got your converters. And these are users who've made a purchase or they filled out a lead form or whatever the conversion is on your site. And I think this is actually a really funny group because when it comes to online marketing, we often neglect converted users. We never do that offline as marketers, but we always do it online. We always bring new users onto the site and we forget about existing customers and building up loyalty with them. So with this group, you can retarget to them, show them ads based on the products that they bought, maybe selling them complementary products, turning them from light users to premium users in certain cases, or targeting them with loyalty campaigns so they become brand advocates and really big fans of the brand. Then the other group that you see here are your non-converted users. So the users who didn't complete the desired action on the website. And this is probably going to be, for almost all websites, the bigger group. So you can segment these out into really, really small segments. But here are just two that work well for pretty much all advertisers. The first is the shopping cart intender or cart abandoner segment. So these are users who've completed a certain degree of steps on the website. So they've gone and put a product into the shopping cart, or potentially they've got to the lead form or whatever that is. So they've gotten to the final step but not completed a conversion. And these are users who've shown a really high level of intent towards completing the conversion. So segmenting them out from everyone else and have a retargeting strategy and message specifically for them works incredibly well. The other group beneath it are product intenders, and this simply means users who viewed a number of different products on the website and not gone any further. So these are users who are clearly still in the research phase, they're shopping around, they're not quite sure yet. Potentially if it's a retail site, they might feel guilty about making the purchase, but they're definitely interested. And they're showing mid to high level of intent. So segmenting them out from everyone else and keeping in mind where they are and where their mindset is and creating a message that's specifically for them, again, works very, very well. So once you've completed the first two steps here, the first one being collect your data. For anyone who's not doing that, that's the number one thing you need to do. The second step then is understanding different levels of intent on your website, which I think most marketers do instinctually anyway, and segmenting it out. And then finally, creating different messages, which is what I was just talking about. So having a very different message for converted users who you're looking to upsell something to, compared to clients who haven't made a purchase yet, who you want to maybe create some urgency with your messaging in the ad. You want to persuade them to come back, maybe give them a discount code, maybe tell them there's a sale that's wrapping up in a certain amount of time, whatever the case may be. But tailoring your message for the individual group, so you're speaking directly to them. And then you'll be glad to hear that most of your work is over. Because this is where the algorithms step in and do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. And this is what algorithms are designed to do. And I'm just going to explain that a little bit in light of our algorithm, because it's the one I know best. So we have an algorithm that's designed specifically for retargeting. So it'll look at two different types of signals for that. One would be intent signals. So what indicates intent? Things like how many pages the user viewed on the site, how long they spent on the site. And the other signals would be campaign signals, like how many ads have they seen, is there a frequency cap that they shouldn't see too many, and how recently they've been to the site. And based on those signals, the algorithm will spit out a likelihood of how likely this user is to click on this ad if we bid on it. And you see here there's two different examples where the likelihood is quite low and there's quite a low bid, and one where it's quite high and the bid is quite aggressive. And that's what algorithms should be helping you to do. They should be optimizing the campaign for you. So when you pick a vendor to work with, ask them how their algorithm works and what it optimizes for and what the different options are there so that you can understand that. Okay, so we're moving on to strategy and tactics. So I've already set the context for who our modern consumer is. He's kind of a slippery fish. He's going across multiple devices, multiple different channels when he's making his purchase decision. And then also talked about the intent data that you've already got available to you. So how do you bring those two together? And I wanted to give you guys some really practical tips that you can take away based on what's worked really well for our customers. So the second problem that a lot of clients bring to us after understanding how to segment their audience is where to target that audience. And there are tons of different ad networks out there and a lot of different exchanges. And what you want to do is get as much reach as you possibly can for your users. With retargeting, that's specifically important because you might have very small lists of users, so you want to make sure you're reaching them no matter where they go across the web. So we work with a lot of different partners, as you can see here. And that is particularly important because it really does drive performance. The more reach you have, the more power you have to be able to cherry pick the best inventory at the lowest price for the best user. It really does drive performance. So we did tests around this with our customers. And we compared customers who'd run just on Google versus when they ran on a number of different web exchanges. And they saw their CPAs improve by 39%. And their CPCs improved by 38%, which is fantastic results. I mean, we'd all love to see that. And that's what extended reach can give you. So don't be afraid to look elsewhere. We also looked at potential overlap. So that is a concern. If you're targeting more than one exchange, are you just reaching the same users over and over? Well, again, we tested this with our customers, and we saw that when they ran on Google alone versus when they ran on Google and Facebook, they were getting a massive extended reach when they went to Facebook as well. In fact, the overlap was as low as 8%. So you will be able to reach more customers. And again, when you're using your first-party data and targeting people who've been to your site, you want to reach all those people because they're really highly qualified leads for your brand. So more reach is definitely a good thing. Here's just a case study. I have a few case studies peppered throughout the rest of the presentation. This one is Bodeskins. They're a luxury fashion retailer online. And they worked on a cross-platform retargeting strategy through their agency partner, which was Red Cow Media. And they wanted to target their shopping cart abandoner segment. So again, people who put a product in the cart and didn't finish the conversion. And they just segmented out by male and female, which was the structure of their site. And they ran those ads across web and across Facebook newsfeed and right-hand column. And you can see the results for yourself there. They saw 20x improvement across their campaigns in performance. And certain campaigns saw a 42x improvement. So that worked incredibly well for them. The next tactic that I want to talk to you about is one that you'll hear a lot. It's about optimizing your ad creative. And I know that we've all been advised to do this time and time and time again. And very often you'll get advice like, make sure you have a really strong call to action, make sure you've got an image that is, very attractive and it's not too busy, there's a clear message, there's a good destination URL. But what you can do as well to really maximize your creatives is personalize them using dynamic ads to make sure that the ads are tailored for the users. And this drives amazing performance. And what essentially it does is by leveraging a product feed, it allows the system to show users the products that they viewed on the website in the ad. So taking this example here, You've got this advertiser chain reaction cycles. They sell bikes and cycling equipment. A user goes on that website, they look at a particular model of bike. Later on, when they're browsing other websites, they see an ad with that exact model, some information about it, and they can click through straight to the page about that model. And that works incredibly well. It makes the ads more relevant and more useful for the users, which they prefer, and performance really reflects that. We really see an uptake in performance when you personalize your ads. And finally, I think I set the context for this earlier, how to deal with the multi-screen world, how to deal with mobile. That's something that we're all tackling at the moment. And I think this is a really interesting insight from an InMobi white paper that shows essentially for an average user who spends on average 7 hours per day consuming media, mobile is the #1 device in terms of time spent. So users are spending more time on mobile than they are on their laptop, on their TV, or listening to their radio or anything else. And I think you're probably all familiar with a very often used graph from Mary Meeker, who's a mobile analyst. And essentially it shows that the unit sales of mobile devices has been surpassing and continues to surpass the unit sales of desktop devices. And I think it's pretty trite to say at this point that more people have smartphones than ever before. But what's becoming clear is that smartphones are becoming people's primary means of accessing the web, if not their only means of accessing the web moving forward, depending on their profession. And we really need to rethink our strategies for those users. We also need to think about how we're engaging with those users on mobile, because it's not just that people have more smartphones and that they're spending more time on smartphones, it's that their behavior is changing when they're on their mobile and tablet devices. So they're not just consuming media on tablets and phones, they're moving their purchase transactions there as well. And this stat definitely speaks to that. 67% of consumer transactions are started on one device, but then finished on another. And that's why we've been building out our capabilities for mobile. And I think this sort of speaks to the trends in the wider industry, how we're seeing huge growth in mobile ad formats, in tablet ad formats. And we wanted to speak to 4 key use cases that our advertisers have, and I'm sure a lot of you have on mobile as well. And this is just about what's possible to do on mobile today. So we partnered with some networks that have desktop and mobile presence, including Facebook and Twitter and AppNexus, and some mobile-specific ad networks as well, like MoPub and AdMob, and a lot of the leading mobile analytics partners. So by doing that, we were able to establish some solutions around mobile. And there's 4 of those. The first one is cross-device retargeting. And this is something that the industry has had a huge focus on recently, and it's really exciting that we're getting to a solution on this. And essentially what this allows us to do is, by using deterministic device IDs, we can accurately identify users across multiple devices. So what that means is we've partnered with Facebook and Twitter, and these are the kind of providers that can support you on this. And by leveraging their login information, you can target users regardless of what device they're logged in on. So whether they're on their mobile, their tablet, their laptop, they can be recognized based on their login information and targeted across different devices. So the really simple use case for you guys on this is that you can target people who've been to your desktop website later on when they're on your mobile phone. And that means that you can stay top of mind, because we see they're spending more and more time on mobile, and you can drive more conversions on mobile as well, which is really powerful. And if you think about the example I was using earlier, so if you're targeting users who've been to your website, put an item in the shopping cart or filled out the lead form and not converted, they're indicating, like I said, really, really high intent. You want to reach all those users. You want to bring them all back because they've all shown an inclination to conversion. So you want to reach them everywhere. And being able to target them on mobile as well is giving you massive extended reach on those types of campaigns. here's just a quick example of a client that did this. So this is Brilliant Earth. They're a jewellery retailer, which I think surprises people actually, because they don't imagine that you would actually purchase jewellery over your mobile. But in actual fact, I think jewellery is one example where people do, because very often it's for a gift or it's for an engagement, and you don't want to be caught looking that up on your shared laptop or tablet. So a lot of people make these kind of purchases on their mobile phones, and Brilliant Earth knew enough about their user base to understand that. And what they did essentially was engage with that cross-device retargeting strategy. So targeting people who'd been to the website later on when they were on the mobile phone. And they saw their CPCs drop to 50% below what they had targeted them. And CTRs go up above 1%, and were really happy with their performance. And what they also got was really good insights into how they were operating on different platforms, so iOS versus Android, and they found that iOS was a much better platform for them, which was a really useful insight for them moving forward with their business planning and strategy. The second use case is simply about taking the strategies that have worked so well on desktop and moving them to mobile. And a lot of you guys, if you're looking at your mobile websites, you might have them redesigned so they're mobile optimized or they're mobile responsive. And this is about capitalizing on that investment and driving conversions through that mobile website. So simply put, this is the exact same strategy as you would do on desktop, retargeting to people who've been to the mobile website or the tablet website later on when they're on the same device. And this is about recognizing the fact that users are now engaging primarily through their mobile phones or their tablets, and building out those strategies for those devices. And then finally, the last two use cases are for the app world. And the number one problem that you have when you have an app is getting people to download it and getting people to use it. And I know there are tons of different products out there that will assist you with getting downloads of your app. And this one is slightly different. It's doing something that's a little bit new, and that's about retargeting app installs. So, the idea is that if you're going to get people to download your app, the most qualified users to do that are those that have already engaged with your brand, already shown an interest, already potentially made a purchase. And the reason for that is because they'll have a higher lifetime value. A statistic from Facebook said only about 22% of apps were used more than once. So you want to make sure that you're getting app downloads that are of high quality. And this product allows you to do this. So again, simply put, retargeting to people who visited the desktop website later on when they're on their mobile phone, encouraging them to download an app. And then finally, for the app world, is again taking the strategies that have worked so well on desktop and moving them to apps. A lot of our customers have built out really sophisticated apps for their websites, or they're an app-first company. What this product allows them to do is essentially treat their app like they would a website. So retargeting to users based on what they've done on the app, so they're driving more conversions through their application. And it also solves for the other big problem that I was just talking about, which is lapsed users on apps as well. So retargeting to users that have failed to use an app in a certain period of time, bringing them back, re-engaging them, and making sure that you're staying top of mind and that you're getting money back for your investment in your mobile application. So that's pretty much it. Just to wrap it up with 3 points. I've covered a lot of ground here today, but if you're going to take away 3 things, these are the most important points to keep in mind. Number 1, automate your intent data. Collect it, analyze it, and then act upon it. It's the most valuable data that you have access to. It's already yours. It's free. So don't neglect it. The second point is to execute cross-platform. More reach is better. It drives better performance. Our customers have seen that and continue to see it. And then finally, think multi-screen. We're living in a modern world. Our customers are more savvy. They're executing and purchasing across multiple devices. So we need to be able to market to them across multiple devices as well. And that's pretty much it. So thank you very much.